A powerful CEO's mother disguises herself as a cleaner to test her son's fiancé. What she discovers shocks everyone. In the glittering lobby of Coltech Tower, Vanessa Cole, the arrogant bride-to-be, humiliates and even kicks an elderly cleaner, not knowing she's Ethan Cole's mother. That single act sets off a storm of secrets, betrayals, and a test of love and pride that will shake the tower to its foundation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The sound of high heels echoed across the wide marble lobby, each click sharp and declarative. A moment later, Vanessa Cole's voice sliced through the steady hum of the air conditioning. "Are you blind?" Heads turned. Employees froze. Some quickly averted their eyes, feigning intense interest in their screens. Others stared, paralyzed. The room fell silent, save for the constant whir of the cooling system. Vanessa stood imposingly in her fitted white shirt and black trousers. Her dark sunglasses reflected the overhead lights, rendering her expression unreadable and cold. At her feet, soapy water crept across the polished floor, finally lapping at the toe of her black designer heels. An elderly woman in a green cleaning uniform was already bent over, swiping at the puddle with a ragged cloth. A headscarf concealed her grey hair, but her movements were careful and steady. "Ah, madam, sorry," the woman said, her voice trembling with a practiced humility. "It will not happen again." Vanessa only grew angrier. She took a slow, deliberate step forward, her heels striking the marble like gunshots. She tilted her head, looking down at the woman as if confronted by something foul. "Do you know how much these shoes cost?" Vanessa snapped. "Or do you think everyone here is as poor and dirty as you?" A wave of muted gasps travelled through the lobby. Workers exchanged nervous glances, but remained silent. Even the security guard at the entrance shifted his weight, torn between duty and fear of Vanessa's wrath. The old woman continued her slow wiping. "Please, madam." It was a mistake. "Shut up," Vanessa barked. "Don't talk back to me. Your job is to clean, not to splash people with dirty water." The woman paused. For a fleeting moment, she lifted her head and met Vanessa's gaze. There was no anger in her eyes, only a deep, unshakable calm that spoke of a lifetime bearing heavy burdens. She lowered her head once more and resumed her work. This quiet dignity seemed to fuel Vanessa's irritation. Her jaw tightened. Then, without warning, she stepped forward and kicked the woman hard in the side. The rag flew from the cleaner's hand. The bucket toppled, sending a fresh wave of soapy water across the marble. The woman let out a soft gasp, one hand flying to her waist, her breathing becoming labored. Yet, she struggled and remained upright. The entire lobby was frozen. The receptionist's fingers stilled on her keyboard. Near the elevator, someone clapped a hand over their mouth. For several heartbeats, no one moved or spoke. Vanessa adjusted her sunglasses with a contemptuous flick of her wrist. "Next time, watch where you put your dirty water." She turned and strode toward the elevator, her long, confident strides echoing in the silence. The steel doors slid open. She stepped inside, and they closed behind her, sealing the scene. The cleaner straightened slowly, pressing a hand against her ribs for support. Her face, however, remained placid, almost expressionless. She bent down, collected her rag and bucket, and quietly resumed wiping the floor. There was no anger, no muttered insult, no welling of tears. She moved with the same steady composure she had shown before, as if this were not the worst humiliation she had ever endured. But no one in the lobby knew the truth. This woman was not a regular cleaner at Coltech Tower. In fact, she didn't work there at all. She had come that morning with a single purpose: to see the true character of her son's fiancé. This was Mrs. Evelyn Cole, mother of billionaire tech CEO Ethan Cole. She had borrowed the uniform from a friend and slipped into the building, determined to test Vanessa for herself. She had heard troubling stories about the woman Ethan planned to marry, tales of her arrogance, her sharp tongue, her profound lack of respect for anyone she deemed beneath her. Evelyn needed to see it with her own eyes. Now, She had seen enough. As she walked calmly from the building, bucket in hand, Evelyn's heart was heavy but resolute. Her son had no idea that the woman he loved had just insulted and assaulted his mother. Ethan saw Vanessa as beautiful, ambitious, and perfect. But Evelyn knew the truth now. Upstairs in her office, Vanessa was laughing on the phone with her friend, Sophie. "Can you believe it? Some dirty cleaner ruined my morning. These people don't know their place." She leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs, thoroughly satisfied. She believed the little scene in the lobby was already forgotten. But she was wrong. She didn't know she had just humiliated the most important woman in her fiancé's life. She didn't know her careless actions would trigger a chain of events powerful enough to shake the very ground she stood on. And she didn't know that Evelyn Cole was not a woman to be ignored. The test had only begun. The morning after the lobby incident, Vanessa Cole stood before her mirror, carefully applying a slash of red lipstick. She leaned closer, adjusted a strand of hair, and smiled at her reflection. To anyone else, it was the smile of a woman who had everything. But beneath that smile was a smouldering fire, one that had been burning for years. She had always believed the world owed her respect. At Coltech Tower, she wasn't just a manager. She was the Vanessa Cole, head of marketing, fiancée of the company's billionaire CEO, Ethan Cole. Her heels announced her arrival each morning before her voice did. She barked orders, publicly corrected mistakes, and made it clear she had no time for weakness. The junior staff whispered about her sharp tongue. Some feared her, others secretly despised her, but no one dared confront her, not when her influence reached the very top. Still, this arrogance hadn't grown overnight. It had roots. Years before, Vanessa had been in a serious relationship with Marcus Grant, a gentle architect who saw her beauty, but ignored his friend's warnings about her pride. For a while, Marcus tried to love her, despite her sharp edges. He endured the way she belittled waiters, rolled her eyes at taxi drivers, and mocked anyone she considered poorly dressed. But one evening at a wedding, everything changed. Vanessa had spotted a bridesmaid in a simple dress. Loud enough for half the room to hear, she sneered, "Can you imagine showing up to a wedding in a dress like that? She looks like she bought it from the roadside." The laughter from nearby guests stung deeper than the words themselves. Marcus's face flushed with shame. On the drive home, a thick silence filled the car until he finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Vanessa, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. You don't treat people well, and I can't build a life with someone who thinks kindness is weakness." She laughed bitterly. "So, you're breaking up with me because I told the truth? Fine. Go find someone soft enough to handle your boring life." The next day, Marcus returned her things and walked away, forever. The breakup stung, but Vanessa buried the pain under layers of pride. She told herself Marcus was weak, too sensitive. He couldn't handle a strong woman. That was the story she repeated until she believed it. But deep inside, a seed of anger had taken root. She promised herself she would never let anyone make her feel small again. Now she had Ethan, handsome, wealthy, admired. With him, she had risen higher than ever before, and this time she would not lose. But Vanessa's world of control had cracks. Her best friend, Sophie Adams, often tried to caution her. "Vanessa, you don't always have to shout," Sophie would say during their brunch outings. Vanessa would wave a dismissive hand. "People only respect strength, Sophie. If I don't keep them in line, they'll walk all over me." Sophie never pushed too hard. She had seen what happened to others who challenged Vanessa. Friendships ended with blocked numbers and deleted photos. At work, the pattern continued. If a report had the smallest error, she tore it apart in front of everyone. If an office cleaner crossed her path, she waved them away as if they were invisible. She never once learned their names. In her mind, this was leadership. To her staff, it was tyranny. And yet, Vanessa believed she was untouchable. She had Ethan. She had power. She had money. What could possibly shake her throne? What she didn't know was that someone had already begun pulling the thread. In her modest home across town, Evelyn Cole sat quietly with a small diary open before her. The pages were now filled with neat, handwritten notes from the day before. Vanessa shouted in lobby, called cleaner poor and dirty, kicked me in front of staff. She wrote slowly and carefully, recording every detail. She wasn't just reacting to her humiliation, she was building a case. She knew her son's heart. Ethan loved Vanessa, perhaps too blindly. If she told him outright, he might become defensive. But proof was undeniable.